This is the Evacuation Procedures tool. The idea here is to make it as straightforward as possible what your family's going to do if they need to evacuate. I won't go through all of this, but as you can see, there's a section on the decision to leave, meaning, for example, who's going to be in charge. Alright, well, if Dad's first in charge, what happens if Dad's not there? Well, Mom's second in charge. What happens if Mom's not there? And so on. Then we start asking questions like, how are we going to decide, when we're going to leave? Is it going to be Dad said so, or, group decision, whatever. Beyond that, we're asking, what type of rendezvous procedures are you going to have? For example, if you have a destination to get to that's quite a ways away, and so obviously you're going to want to stop somewhere, what's going to happen when you stop? Are you going to stay for just an hour? You're going to wait? What happens if you could not get a hold of people? Are you going to go ahead and wait, or are you just going to leave? These are the types of questions we're going to ask. Alright, it's up to you to figure it out. Now, once you figure that stuff out, we're going to move on. So, this page is actually almost exactly like every other page, with the only difference being this here, where it says evacuate north. The other ones say evacuate south, evacuate east, and evacuate west, respectively. So as you can tell, those are compass directions, and the idea here is to work out exactly which route you're going to take in the event you had to evacuate north, in this case. The other pages, if you had to evacuate in other directions. So what's going on here is that you have both local destinations and then an out-of-area destination. The local destination is, something happened to your house or maybe your neighborhood, but you can't stay there anymore and you have to go somewhere else. It could be anything from a family or friend's house to a local hotel to who knows what. That's what this is. It is something that you should be able to walk to, certainly within a day's time. Maybe a drive of 15-20 minutes. It's up to you. It depends on your health and terrain and that sort of thing. So, but just the important thing is to be able to walk there and to be far enough away, like not your neighbor's house just down the street. Okay, a little further than that. So I should point out the difference then is out-of-area destination is going to be much further away. You're not going to be able to walk there, not even in days. It's really meant to be something that's hours away, hopefully far enough away that even almost think hurricanes. Are you far enough away from a hurricane in this case? Alright, I would prefer that you could get there on one tank of gas, but you got to do what you got to do. So what you do here, we'll focus on the local destination. You fill in where you're trying to get to. It could be, an actual address. It could just say Sally's house, right? Now you have to decide on at least, I would say at least 2 routes. A primary route that you're going to take to get there, and then a secondary route you're going to take to get there. And the way you figure this out is you get on Google Maps or Bing Maps or whatever. You do your thing from my house to wherever you're trying to get to, and if you like the route that they've given you, go ahead and go with it. I would suggest, however, at least in Google I know they have a walking route where it should keep you off of highways and freeways, and should be hopefully safer for pedestrians. I would certainly attempt that if you can. If you can't, then just do what you can. The secondary route then would be a route that's as far removed from the primary route as you can. Sometimes it's not possible, depending upon what roads you have to take, but it may even be a longer route. Typically the primary route is going to be the shortest. The secondary route should be as far removed from the primary route as you can, meaning you're not taking the same roads as much as you can anyway, okay? This local hotels here, This is probably less necessary than for out of the area, but if for some reason you needed to, get out of the house and you couldn't stay at Sally's house, then you needed to, you need a hotel, and this is where you put that information in. The out-of-area destination is pretty much the same idea. You're putting in where you're going to go, what route you're going to take. This is going to be more difficult to find, or could be more difficult to find a secondary route that, at least it's not really out of the way, but do your best. The rendezvous site, you don't need to do that, but I would suggest you try, even if it's a small little town or just some little out-of-the-way place. Try and have a rendezvous site where you guys can rest, recuperate, meet up if you need to. Again, down here, primary out-of-area hotels, that's where you put this information. The idea of having the hotels listed here is so that, say you had to get out of town, but guess what, everybody else is trying to do the same thing. Well, instead of you having to look it up, you can just call, Hotel 6 and say, hey, I need a room, right, and book it before everyone else does. Same thing here, Rendezvous Hotels does the same thing. The one thing you need to know here is that the type of hotel, is it a P or an S? If it's a P, it's for primary hotels. If it's an S, it's for secondary route hotels. Okay, primary route for P, S for secondary routes. The only other thing I haven't pointed out yet here is these drop-down boxes, the primary and secondary routes. You notice some funny words here. You got an alpha, north, primary, local, and 1-1. And this one says alpha, bravo, north, secondary, local, and 1-2, and so on. These keep changing. So what's happening here, and you can certainly use your own naming conventions. I just gave 3 different options. So what's going on here is, for example, when you when you go search Google Maps and you come up with a primary route, you're going to then print that route out. Well, when you start printing out a primary route, secondary route for local, and then do the same thing for the out of area, and then you do it for south, east, and west, you're going to get super confused. So what you do then is you would select, let's select 1-1. You would print the map, and then you would mark that primary route map with 1-1. I'd do it in the upper right corner of your map. And then here, when you do the secondary route, you mark it with a 1-2. So when you do your out of area, you mark it with a 1-3, and so on. And so when you go to the south, for example, it's a 2-1, right? I hope you're getting this, 2-2. So that all you have to do when you go, all right, we're going to evacuate, and we have to get, out of the area, and we're going to take our primary route, I can reference map 1-3. So you don't have to wonder, okay, which map is it? All right. And lastly here, there's some places where you can put some notes if you need to. All right. So this can take you a while, especially with trying to print out the maps and figuring out the routes. That takes a while. So take your time there. If you don't do it all in one day, that's fine. Just and then when you're done, make sure all the family members that would be responsible for this know exactly what's going on. And that's it.